Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, hosted by Concept 3D. Today, we are live from AMA Symposium for Higher Ed in Chicago. It's day 2 today. It's been a great show so far and excited for another 2 days. For today's episode, I'm really excited to talk about breaking down silos in higher ed. And for that, we have Myla Edmond today. She is the AVP of Communications and Marketing at California State University, Dominguez Hills, and she's also the co-chair for planning of the planning committee at AMA as well.
That is
Welcome
correct.
to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's going to be awesome. I love asking icebreakers to start the show off,
Okay.
and I'd love to ask you, what is your favorite thing about AMA?
My favorite thing about the American Marketing Association Symposium for the Marketing of Higher Education is the community. This place is filled with people who not only have done this work a long time, but they love this work. And I think what's unique about it is we're not necessarily in competition with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need help with something, need suggestions, want to talk through a strategy with someone, they are more than willing to have the conversations and share their ideas and insights with you. So I think it's the strongest thing. There are a couple of things I like, but the thing I like most is definitely the community.
I definitely echo that, and I know I've tried to attend 2 sessions that are just completely full, and so it's definitely busy, and everyone wants to learn more and educate themselves, so it's exciting. And yeah, the part about open communication, Ann Peters, who I hope to have on the show after this week, is I went to her presentation yesterday around branding and bringing it to the executive level, and she shared her mistakes that she's
Yes.
done at the school too, and I thought that was very humbling and saying hey,
Yes, and it's true. I mean, we don't get it right every time.
right.
And so I do think this is a space by which people not only feel comfortable sharing that, but the people they share it with don't weaponize it either. They take it down as a note, appreciate hearing it, and make sure that they improve their process when they go to implement some of the things that they've heard.
This is fantastic. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your role at California State University, Dominguez Hills?
Yes. So as the AVP, I'm charged with really, I like to think of it as 3 things. Defining and identifying the distinctions of the institution, amplifying those distinctions to the audience that cares about them most, and then helping to establish congruence between who we say we are and who we are. And really what that boils down to is lining up the experience, the expression of that experience, and the expectations that people have for that experience.
That's fantastic. And what are some of the key areas you're working on today?
You know, I think my colleagues at this conference and I are working on the same things, making sure that we are communicating openly with our various audiences. You know, with the state of higher ed being what it is, it's gotten increasingly competitive. And
Right.
so I think for marketers, we are focusing on how we can partner with our enrollment management colleagues and figure out how to develop authentic messaging to students who are interested in our institutions and leading with values. So I think that what that looks like is, you know, I think with marketing, people always want to talk about the output. So website management, social media engagement, and ensuring that materials that are produced across the campus have the same, you know, mission, vision, and values, and they are branded well to reflect the institution's mission, vision, and values.
Fantastic. And I'm curious, have you had time to go to sessions the last 2 days?
I
You're on
have,
the co-chair side.
yes,
Yeah,
I
okay.
have had time. I definitely want to make sure that not only I want to participate as an attendee, but also I want to see what experiences the attendees are having as a co-chair of the planning committee, because that's important to me. So I have had a chance to go to some sessions.
Is there
Yes.
anything that stood out that would be insightful? So it's one takeaway from the last, I know it's only been a day and a half, so
Yes.
but any takeaways from the day and a half?
I think I'm hearing some common themes just around, and it's funny because it's all fundamentals. I think that a
Yeah.
lot of
Mhm.
times we've gotten so sophisticated with what we're able to do and what tools we have and technology we can use, but really listening to our audience. And I think what's important about that is they've gotten sophisticated. And so we have to learn to meet them where they are, which is something we all know, and we learned that very early on,
Yeah.
but their tools are changing and the way that they talk about our institutions are changing. So really just taking the time to get to know our audience and communicate to them in the ways that they prefer. The other thing I would say is just listening to how my colleagues are managing all the things that we're charged with.
Yeah.
We are not just in charge of brands. There's reputation, there's crises and issues management. There's just so much wrapped up in what we have to do. And then as a manager, you have to figure out how to manage your staff and motivate them because they've been doing this work with you. And what I hear from most of our
Mhm.
teams, we don't have enough people to do what we need to do, and also managing the expectations of our campus leadership. So is there one thing? Maybe not one thing, but I think we're all facing the same things.
Wow, that's really great. I know Eddie Francis was on the last episode, and I
Love
think,
Eddie
oh yeah, he's great. He's brings a lot of energy to the table,
every time.
and he was a radio host like early in his career. So I was like, oh, I was a little nervous to talk to him because I know he was gonna
Eddie's
crush it.
great.
His session was around employer branding,
Mhm.
and I think one thing I went to that session, and one thing I walked away with was the importance of highlighting your employees, and 'cause you can't always hit the goal that you wanted to, but like empowering them to make sure they have the agency to do what they want, and also give them praise, basically, right? Like I know there's really high expectations for them from the top down. So, are you properly praising your employees or your team was like one thing that I that stood with me in yesterday's session.
It's incredibly important.
Hmm.
We can't do the work that we do on our own.
Yep.
Team is so important to what we're doing, and
Hmm.
so making sure that they feel not only recognized but heard is critical.
Right. Well, in sort of related to that, and going into our topic a little bit more here, can you tell us a little bit about what the process is for breaking down silos and opening communication, really at your level in higher ed?
How much time do you have? No, it's ever evolving. And
Yeah.
anything that I share, I'm not saying it to say that we have it all figured out
Right.
because I think when you get new people in, you have to change your strategy. When
Hmm.
expectations change, you have to reevaluate what you're doing. But what I would say is keeping the students at the center is the first part of this and
Hmm.
really understanding what it is that they need. I think because our organizations are so complex, we often pass that down to the students. They don't care that you're divided by this division and this unit and
Yep.
the handoffs that take place between the staff.
Hmm.
They care about your institution. And so when I think about my students, they care about Cal State Dominguez Hills and what is Cal State Dominguez Hills sharing with them. They don't want to hear that they have to get this from this department, this from that department, and this from this person. They want a seamless communication experience. And so I have to look at who do I need to talk to ensure that that happens. And it does take longer, absolutely, but the payoffs are so much better because your students find that they have a seamless communication experience. So bringing the right people to the table, and it's often a lot of people bringing them to the table from the start.
Right.
Don't just create something and then say, "Hey, check this and tell me what you think." I think feedback is critical and important, but it's even more important to bring people in during the development stage to make sure that
Hmm.
you're not just covering things, but the way you cover it makes sense. And so getting feedback along the way is more important than just having somebody check at the end. So you have to ask yourself,
Mm.
if you're doing this by a topic, who are all the people that touch this particular topic? Or who are all the people that students have to engage with
Right.
to get this certain thing done? I think that's an important part of making sure that
Hmm.
silos are getting busted is finding out who touches all these, this particular thing and making sure that they have buy-in they get to weigh in on what your strategy is.
Yeah, and that process in itself probably takes a lot of
Long
buying to
time.
start, right? Even just finding who the key players are for each specific thing is probably difficult too.
Absolutely. One of the things I was interested in was collecting all the different means of communicating to students. And we know
Hmm.
we love email. We gotta get over our over dependence on email. But what I did was I wanted to know by cohort. So I started with first year incoming students.
Hmm.
What are all the messages they get from our campus? And you can imagine that is significant. But I wanted to do that so we can improve all the communications that
Right.
our first year students receive. And we started with a group of about 35 people. And
From like admissions,
from
enrollment, everyone.
everywhere,
Okay.
35 people,
A
and
lot.
just, yes, created a tool for them to input
Uh-huh.
what are the messages you send out to first year incoming students. And if you're not sending them and there's something you would like to send, include that too. We just
Hmm.
wanted a really bird's eye view of all the potential messages that were specific to first year incoming students.
Hmm.
And they weren't behavioral based, it was just cohort based. So
Okay.
this didn't include if a student didn't respond to something or there was some action you wanted a specific student to
Uh-huh.
take. This was for all of them. And we actually did that exercise for first year incoming students, graduating seniors, and we did one more cohort that's escaping me right now, but we have a list of 7 we want to get through, and we've gone through 3. So the
Gotcha.
work continues.
And how long is that process taking to get through those
This
two
has
cohorts?
been going on for 18 months.
Yep. So I guess that's a good, if you think it's taking time, like
It needs to take time because
patience.
you want to do it right.
Right.
And things are fluid.
Hmm.
Like I said, we asked them, what are the messages you send and messages you think you could send?
Hmm.
So when we went to the next cohort, that was shaping how they inputted their data
Right.
because they had walked through it before. And I want people to be thorough. I don't want them to feel rushed.
Right.
So we will take the time.
Is there a specific way you've set up this project or ongoing project? Like maybe labeling so that like everyone is involved, or maybe you put standing meetings in time where everyone gets together, like a sprint, or
Yeah, so
what's been
it's
the best way
what
to do
we've
that?
done after we finish one cohort,
Uh-huh.
we all revisit. Okay, we agree that the next cohort would be, in this case, it was graduating seniors was the second one. Do we
Hmm.
still agree that that's the best move to make next? Okay,
Gotcha.
yes, we still agree. Okay, so who wasn't involved in this that should be for graduating seniors?
Okay.
So you don't start all over, but you kind of start all over because you have new people walking in. And I don't want them to feel that they missed something. So you got the scaffold again. This is what we're doing. This is why. You do have an example to show them because now the tool exists. But yeah, and then you start the conversation with this new group and just again get them to think about what are all the messages going to this cohort so that we
Hmm.
can all see them, find ways to collaborate, look at timing because timing is a big part of this. And we make sure that we're not just sending students messages because we need to check something off of our list. Again, being student centered is the intent here.
Hmm. What have been some of the outcomes of your two early cohorts? Have you reduced duplication? Like what's that been like?
We have been able to get some partnership on some messages.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't, it's difficult to say reduce duplication because sometimes you realize, well, we weren't communicating about
Oh,
this.
okay. You got it.
So, I'm not interested in saying we're going to necessarily send
Hmm.
less or have accounts. There's no perfect number,
Hmm.
but I do want to make sure the communication is effective and also give people an opportunity to see that maybe this isn't an email, maybe this is something else. We have social media accounts, we have other means to communicate with students, we have an app, we have faculty that could communicate messages to
Hmm.
students. So, really, just completely reconsidering how we can communicate to students and when we communicate to students.
Has there been anything that like you weren't expecting from going through this exercise, like positive, negatives?
I think it wasn't that I wasn't expecting it, but I was certainly encouraged by people wanting to work together on
Okay.
this. It was just they hadn't been given the space to do it.
Hmm.
No one walked in this meeting and over Zoom and said, "I don't want to do this" or "I'm not
Yeah.
interested." I think they all understood the importance. And as in my job, I have to tie you back to the why. So I was prepared to say, this is why we have to do it. And I didn't have to repeat that. They all got it. It was like, this makes sense. I understand. Now let's get this done.
That's amazing. Turning the page a little bit here, I know you've had a lot of experience at different universities, different positions, right? Which has led to you to where you are today. I know you actually started out in alumni relations, and I think this wraps up the whole conversation really nicely as well. But what did you learn in alumni relations that you're bringing to the table now in the marketing team and your position as well?
I am so thankful that I started at the end,
Right,
honestly, and it wasn't intentional by any means.
right.
I saw a job that sounded really fun, and it was managing the marketing communications for an alumni
Hmm.
association. Starting at the end really helped me understand after I got there for a while that colleagues from admissions all the way through impact the output of alumni relations, and the experience that students have
Hmm.
impacts how they engage as alums. And that lesson stayed with me, and I think it's partly why I'm such a collaborator, because I understand that if students don't have a good experience either in the student life, in the classroom, or dealing with some of our colleagues on some of their administrative tasks,
Yeah.
they may not have the warm, fuzzy feelings, even if they stay and get their degree. They may not look back at that time as a favorable time. And so that lesson stuck with me all throughout my career. And so I'm really thankful that I started at the end of the journey, because I got to also hear what happens when they did have a great experience. So you have alums coming back for their 40 and 50-year
Right.
anniversary, telling us that this was the best or most memorable part of their life. And it's like, how amazing is that to be a part of someone's most memorable time of their life? We have to get this right.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Do you think there's maybe someone who hasn't had this experience? Like, if you had to sum up, like, what advice you'd give to them if they're just climbing just in through the central team? Like, do you have any advice to give to someone that you've learned?
A marketer just climbing through, I would say, don't be afraid to disrupt things.
Okay.
I understand why we go into patterns and say, this is how we've done it, and we just want to make incremental improvements every year. I understand, because we're all taxed with more work than we have time to. But if we don't disrupt our thinking, we're not going to create that alignment that I talk about,
Hmm.
because student expectations are changing every single day. They're not just comparing their experience with other universities, they're comparing their experiences with businesses and tech
Yep.
companies, and their shopping experiences with their online shopping experiences. So they're not just saying, well, it's okay, I'm going to give my university a pass on how their technology advances are because it's a university. They're not doing that. If these other companies can figure out how to give them a seamless communication and a really robust online experience,
Hmm.
they expect us to do the same. And so I would say to someone coming in new, disrupt some things. Even your leaders, we just sometimes we get caught up in trying to, get things done. And somebody has to say, hey, have we ever considered doing it this way? Or just asking questions. I think asking questions is a really strong way to get people to reevaluate how they do things as well. So,
Hmm.
what's our process? Why do we do it this way? Is this the best method? Is this the most effective? Are we actually meeting our goals? And one question I always ask, that I would encourage anyone to ask, is what is our intent? Sometimes we just jump right into work and
Right.
we don't even know if we're meeting our intentions.
I'm very guilty of that. I tend to like just go right into tactics and
we
strategy.
gotta we gotta we gotta step back. I
Yeah.
do have an example of that. I was talking to a colleague about an event, and I just said, as the marketing team, we're supporting this.
Right.
What are your objectives for this event? And they had a hard time articulating that. So I asked, you know, I was trying to give examples because I wanted more than, I don't know.
Right.
So I said, well, are you trying to increase attendance at this event?
Uh
Oh,
huh.
well, yeah, we do want to increase attendance. I said, well, who are we reaching out to invite? the same people who came in last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, you realize if 100% of those people who came last year come again, you're not going to meet your goal.
Right.
So I think new people have that really great ability to see things with fresh eyes and ask those questions. So that's why I would tell someone, disrupt things, ask questions, and make sure that we are meeting our objectives.
Yeah. I like that you bring that up because the session I attended earlier was around social media
Mhm.
and reaching Gen Z, and every slide had the word audience growth on it, which was what they believe should be, I think, is great in university. And it was their goal, and that's their goal. There's no, like, there's not 10 goals, it's audience growth. And that's what everything that they should do on social media should be trying to achieve, audience growth. And, I love that they have that vision for it because it makes all the other work that you do like aligned to a common goal. So,
I was in that session also. So
oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
No, and that's a great example of we make assumptions that
Right.
people know what our goals are.
Right.
And saying audience growth is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it very clear for everyone. Because social, you can do so many things. Engagement
Right.
is part of social media goals. Is it, especially when you look at certain channels, LinkedIn, mostly alums and your employees, they're
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn. Is that audience growth? I don't know.
Right.
But with that example that you gave, everybody's clear about what they're working on. And I think clarity is, as it said, clarity
Right.
is kindness. And so I would say that making sure that everyone understands what the intentions are, that is key.
It's fantastic. Kind of along the same lines. Is there something you're really excited for in 2024 as we near the end of this year in higher ed?
In higher ed, I would say what I'm excited about in 2024 is really I think, seeing my colleagues get empowered to know what they're capable of. We do so much, and this notion of reclaiming this narrative of higher education and what it means and what its value is to society, to our country, to financial institutions of our
Uh-huh.
country. I think understanding our impact, that's what I'm excited for, because it's not just about this output that we produce. It's creating, I would say, almost a, I don't want to sound grandiose, but like it's a social movement if we choose to take it as such.
Right.
That's what I'm excited for, to see us walk in our power and our influence, because we have a lot of it. We just, get caught up in the day to day sometimes, and the struggle of trying to
Right.
appease certain certain leaders, or members of our boards or our presidents, and it's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that insight with us
Yeah,
today.
thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here, and I'm glad that you were able to join the conference this
Yeah,
year.
it was amazing. Where can our listeners follow up with you to see what you're up to?
I'm on LinkedIn, so Myla Edmond, find me on LinkedIn. I'm certainly there, participating in conversation around higher ed marketing and just leadership in general.
That's great. Well, thank you so much again. It's great to have you, and hopefully we can record another episode in the future.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much, everyone.